There's something depraved about Donald Trump trying to score political points about the death and shooting of National Guards people protecting the District of Columbia. Donald Trump did it reflexively, without thinking, immediately, because that's his nature, in going after the shooter and making a link between the shooter and Joe Biden, when the link should have really been between the shooter, the CIA, the U.S. Army, and Donald Trump. We cover it all on Legal AF, the podcast, and here's a clip.
Finally, we talked about a lot, but I think it's important to talk about here before we go, which is, of course, we know the identity of the shooter in Washington, D.C. Tragically, we know the National Guardswoman passed away from this horrific shooting. The shooter is a guy by the name of Ramunallah Lakhanwal, 29-year-old Afghan national. He entered the U.S. in 2021. He worked with the CIA in Afghanistan, special forces. He was in the Afghan military since he was a teenager and was working with the CIA there in Kandahar and in other areas. There was no red flags at all about his background when he entered the U.S. You all remember that Trump cut the deal with the Taliban, released 5,000 Taliban prisoners. The Taliban prisoners then took over Afghanistan. Trump promised the withdrawal, but he didn't do a withdrawal in May when he promised that he was going to withdraw. And then he provided no intelligence or communications with the Biden transition team. Ultimately, Biden removed the troops from Afghanistan, to which Trump and all the MAGAs would constantly attack Biden for the exit and the withdrawal, what Trump was supposed to do, but Trump refused to do because Trump is Trump. And this person was heavily vetted. And because this person worked with the CIA was basically a member of the CIA for 10 years in Kandahar and fought alongside American troops, this person was allowed to show up. There was no signs that this person, as far as we know as of now, was engaged. He's living in Washington. There was no red flags until this shooting took place. But then again, the Trump regime granted this guy asylum in April of 2025. And we know the Trump regime has dismantled counterterrorism within the FBI and instead placed the FBI on going after abuela duty, like going after people who have been here for a long time and who have been contributing to our country. They've attacked migrants in the factories and in the restaurants and on the farms and in the Home Depot parking lots and going through Latino neighborhoods and terrorizing them and landscapers instead of focusing on the bad guys or developing intelligence on the bad guys. And the Trump regime picked an intern from the Heritage Foundation, whose only other job experience was as a summer landscaper and MAGA social media guy who is a big super Trump fan named Thomas Fugate, 22 years old, no experience in the FBI, no experience in intelligence, no experience in anything, okay, other than the guy was an intern. They made him the head of counterintelligence at the FBI because Trump hates the FBI and wanted to destroy it. What better way to give the middle finger to the FBI than bring in a 22-year-old guy who has no clue about the FBI, right? And make him the head of the most important division, counterintelligence. So I'm not going to do what MAGA does and say, well, because of Fugate, that's why this happened. But I will say objectively, our counterterrorism has been extremely degraded and our ability to develop real-time intelligence. So who knows? Could the FBI have been keeping track of people in chat rooms and see if somebody was getting radicalized? Well, that's what they would do. That capability has been severely harmed, if not outright removed, and lots of former FBI agents have been warning us about that in litigation against the Trump regime. And these are FBI agents who served under Bush and Obama and even the Trump first administration, who are now saying this second administration, this regime, is engaged in this type of conduct. So I covered a lot of it there, Popok, but I'll give you the final word on the subject.
No, I think you hit it all, but I'll just do it for what I did at the top of the podcast. Every time Donald Trump tries to politically exploit a tragedy, it backfires for him. But how quickly those in his administration are so in this hermetically sealed world that, right on cue, John Ratcliffe, the head of the CIA, blames the Biden administration, and this one blames the Biden administration, and all, and then, let's turn it towards now nobody from Afghanistan is ever going to be able to come here again, and another Muslim country ban is going to happen. That's not what happened here. What happened here is a guy who, starting in 2011, worked for some combination of the U.S. military and CIA, and was trained and trusted in Afghanistan and got resettled in the state of Washington. Somewhere along the way, something happened. A circuit breaker blew, a fuse blew, and he got radicalized, or is just a crazy mass shooter. I mean, there's plenty of white, non-Muslim, non-Afghan mass shooters also, including ones that fire at ICE, regardless of who's in charge. But Donald Trump's attempt to exploit it is what you and I keep a close eye on, just as we saw in the Charlie Kirk murder, him trying to turn that into a cause celeb in order to crack down on, DEI and First Amendment speech and, Democratic groups and fundraising and all that. And that seems to have backfired because the American and Jimmy Kimmel, that backfired on him because people stood up for First Amendment speech and against tyranny created by a president who had lost sight and lost any barrier between his presidency and his political world. I mean, when they saw the entirety of his cabinet go to Arizona for the Charlie Kirk vigil, when they saw J.D. Vance hold a Charlie Kirk podcast from the White House, that actually turned against the Trump administration. His efforts now to blame Biden for the tragedy that happened with the National Guard similarly is turning against him in the public polling because, frankly, the American people don't see a president who is focused on what matters to them on a daily basis. And I'll end it with the polling that I started the podcast with. While the ruby red areas like Wyoming, he's never going to lose Wyoming. In the 7 battleground states plus Texas, Wisconsin, and Florida, he is underwater double digits at the moment, meaning if we were to run the election again, he would likely lose all of those battleground states. And you and I wouldn't be talking about a Trump presidency. People want their vote back, especially the independents, which have rejected Donald Trump. 76% of independents want their vote back. Those are staggering numbers. We're 10 months into an administration that is looking for any way to distract from a floundering administration, even exploiting the death of a poor woman who served this country honorably in the National Guard. But and that's why you and I got to talk about it, like instantly getting on the air and talking about it. And the people now are starting, you can see it in the polling and the voting, people are starting to see through this administration and their just exploitation for political gain of any tragedy that should have no political red or blue analysis applied to it, right? This should just be about the tragedy. And then maybe set up a blue ribbon panel to make sure it doesn't happen again. But Donald Trump can't help himself because he's looking for any life preserver that he can find for his depraved administration. Welcome back. I'm glad you're here with me at the intersection of law and politics. That's a podcast we do every Wednesday and Saturday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, only on the Midas Touch Network. Commercial-free versions, of course, on Legal AF Substack. Watch us on YouTube. Listen to us on the podcast platforms of Spotify and Apple. Leave 5-star reviews and rankings. It all keeps us at the top of the charts, and help us over on Legal AF Substack cross the 1 million subscriber barrier. Hit the free subscribe button as we continue to grow our channel. So until my next report, I'm Michael Popak. I'm Michael Popak, and I got some big news for our audience. Most of you know me as the co-founder of Midas Touch's Legal AF. and the Legal AF YouTube channel, or as a 35-year national trial lawyer. Now, building on what we started together on Legal AF, I've launched a new law firm, the Popak Firm, dedicated to obtaining justice through compassionate and zealous legal representation. At the Popak Firm, we are focused on obtaining justice for those who have been injured or damaged by a life-altering event, by securing the highest dollar recoveries. I've been tirelessly fighting for justice for the last 35 years, so my own law firm organically building on my Legal AF work just feels right. And I've handpicked a team of top-tier trial fighters and settlement experts throughout all 50 states known as big auto injury attorneys who have the know-how to beat heartless insurance companies, corporations, government entities, and their attorneys. Big Auto's attorneys working with my firm are rock stars in their respective states, and collectively responsible for billions of dollars in recoveries. So if you or a loved one have been on the wrong side of a catastrophic auto, motor vehicle, rideshare, or truck accident, suffered a personal injury, or been the victim of medical malpractice, employment harassment or discrimination, or suffered a violation of your civil and constitutional rights, then contact the Popak Firm today at 1-877-POPAK-AF or by visiting my website at www.thepopakfirm.com and fill out a free case evaluation form. And if we determine that you have a case and you sign with us, we don't get paid unless you do. The Popak Firm, fighting for your justice every step of the way.